What if I told you that your next tweet could reveal whether you'll get married in 3 years? Your Instagram story might predict your next career move, and your Facebook post could forecast your health issues decades before they happen. Buckle up, because we're about to explore a world where social media doesn't just connect us, it sees our future. Imagine waking up tomorrow to discover that every social media platform has developed the ability to predict your future with startling accuracy. Not through magic, but through sophisticated artificial intelligence that analyzes patterns in your posts, comments, likes, and even the time you spend scrolling. This isn't science fiction. It's a logical extension of technologies that already exist today. Currently, social media algorithms can predict everything from your political preferences to your shopping habits. They know when you're feeling depressed, when you're likely to make impulsive purchases, and even when you might be considering ending a relationship. But what if these predictions extended far beyond the present moment? The foundation for this technology already exists in our digital footprints. Every emoji you use, every pause before posting, every friend you add or remove, it all creates a complex behavioral signature. Researchers have found that linguistic patterns in social media posts can predict depression up to 3 months before clinical diagnosis. Your word choices reveal personality traits that correlate with future life outcomes. The way you interact with others online mirrors how you'll navigate real-world relationships. But here's where things get fascinating and terrifying. If social media could predict your future, the first thing that would happen isn't what you'd expect. Sure, companies would rush to monetize these predictions. Insurance companies adjusting your premiums based on predicted health outcomes, employers screening candidates through their forecasted career trajectories, dating apps matching people based on predicted relationship success. However, the most immediate and unexpected consequence would be the birth of an entirely new form of human behavior: predictive posting. People would start crafting their social media presence not to reflect their current thoughts and feelings, but to manipulate their predicted future. Want the algorithm to forecast career success? You'd carefully curate posts about professional development and ambition. Hoping for a prediction of good health? You'd flood your feed with fitness content and healthy meal photos. This would create the world's first generation of people living backwards, making present decisions based on desired future predictions rather than current reality. Imagine teenagers choosing their posts based on college admission algorithms that predict acceptance rates, or young adults crafting romantic social media personas to trigger predictions of successful marriages. The psychology behind this would be profound. Humans have always sought to know their future through fortune tellers, horoscopes, and prophecies. But never before would we have had the power to seemingly influence that future through our own actions. This would create a feedback loop where people become addicted to optimizing their predicted outcomes, constantly refreshing their future forecasts like checking the weather. But here's an even more surprising consequence. Society would split into 2 distinct tribes. The prediction believers would organize their entire lives around their algorithmic forecasts, making major life decisions based on what their social media future says. They'd move to cities where they're predicted to thrive, pursue careers suggested by their digital destiny, and even choose romantic partners recommended by their forecasted compatibility scores. Meanwhile, the prediction rebels would emerge as a counterculture movement, deliberately posting contradictory and chaotic content to confuse the algorithms. They'd see predictive social media as digital determinism, a threat to free will itself. These rebels would develop sophisticated strategies to game the system, posting fake interests, using AI-generated content, or even trading accounts with others to create unpredictable digital identities. This rebellion would spark the creation of underground social networks designed to be unpredictable. These platforms would randomly shuffle posts, assign random reactions to content, and deliberately introduce chaos to prevent any meaningful pattern recognition. It would be the digital equivalent of wearing masks to avoid facial recognition, except you'd be masking your future instead of your identity. The economic implications would be staggering. A black market for clean social media accounts would emerge, profiles with optimal posting histories that predict positive futures. People would pay thousands for accounts that forecast career success, healthy relationships, and longevity. Professional social media curators would offer services to optimize your digital presence for better future predictions, like personal trainers for your algorithmic destiny. Financial institutions would revolutionize lending practices. Why check credit scores when you can predict someone's future earning potential and spending habits? Loans would be approved based on forecasted financial behavior rather than past performance. This would create a new form of discrimination, not based on race, gender, or age, but on predicted future outcomes. People forecasted to struggle financially would find themselves locked out of opportunities, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that reinforces algorithmic predictions. The healthcare implications would be even more dramatic. Imagine receiving a notification that your posting patterns suggest a 73% chance of developing diabetes in 8 years. This early warning could be life-saving, allowing for preventive measures that genuinely improve outcomes. Mental health interventions could begin before symptoms manifest, potentially preventing countless cases of depression, anxiety, and other psychological conditions. However, this predictive power would also create unprecedented anxiety. People would become obsessed with monitoring their health forecasts, constantly analyzing their posts for signs of declining predictions. A new form of hypochondria would emerge, not fear of current illness, but terror of predicted future ailments. The mental health crisis this would create might be worse than the conditions it aims to predict. Governments would face impossible ethical dilemmas. Should law enforcement investigate people predicted to commit crimes? Could you arrest someone for a murder they haven't committed yet but are forecasted to commit with 89% probability? Democratic societies would grapple with the fundamental question of whether prediction equals predestination. Some nations might embrace predictive governance, using social media forecasts to allocate resources and plan policies. If the algorithm predicts a surge in unemployment in specific regions, governments could proactively invest in job training programs. If mental health crises are forecasted for certain demographics, preventive mental health services could be deployed in advance. But authoritarian regimes would weaponize these predictions for control. Citizens forecasted to become dissidents could face preemptive persecution. Social credit systems would evolve beyond monitoring current behavior to punishing predicted future actions. The very act of posting content that suggests future non-compliance with government policies could result in immediate consequences. Religious and philosophical movements would emerge around the fundamental questions this technology raises. If your future can be predicted from your social media posts, do you truly have free will? New denominations would form, some embracing algorithmic prophecy as divine revelation, others rejecting it as digital blasphemy. Philosophers would debate whether knowing your predicted future creates that future or merely reveals what was always destined to happen. The most unexpected consequence might be the complete transformation of human relationships. Dating would become a complex game of algorithmic compatibility, where couples would be matched not just on current compatibility, but on predicted relationship trajectories. Parents would monitor their children's social media, not just for inappropriate content, but for concerning future predictions. Friendships would form around shared predicted outcomes, support groups for people forecasted to face similar challenges. Education would be revolutionized. Why force students through standardized curricula when algorithms can predict their optimal learning paths and career trajectories? Schools would become highly personalized, with each student following an individualized program designed around their predicted future success. This could eliminate educational waste and maximize human potential, or create rigid caste systems where children are locked into predicted paths from an early age. Perhaps most intriguingly, this technology would create the first generation of humans who grow up knowing their statistical future. Imagine being 13 years old and learning you have an 85% chance of becoming an engineer, a 23% chance of getting divorced, and a 67% chance of living past 85. How would this knowledge shape personality development, risk-taking behavior, and life satisfaction? The paradox is that this predictive power might ultimately make the predictions less accurate. Once people know their forecasted future, their behavior changes in response to that knowledge. This would create an endless feedback loop where predictions influence behavior, which changes outcomes, which requires new predictions. The future would become a moving target, constantly shifted by our knowledge of it. So here we are, standing at the threshold of a world where your digital footprint doesn't just reflect your past, it reveals your destiny. The question isn't whether this technology will emerge, but whether we're prepared for a society where the line between prediction and predestination becomes dangerously thin. In a world where your future is just an algorithm away, would you want to know what's coming next? Or would you choose to live in beautiful, unpredictable ignorance?